All right, so you said that you were interested in knowing how I use my announcements and rubrics. Okay, so I figured the easiest way to do is to show you, walk through every step, and then if you still have questions, you can formulate them. But hopefully, this will help answer most, if not all of them. So to really start off with. The first thing that you need to make sure that you do is up here where it says the edit mode is, the first thing you need to make sure is it's on. I know that sounds simplistic, but there's a lot of times when if it's turned off, the only thing that you see is the current announcements, which in your case wouldn't be any. So make sure that it's on. And then all you've got to do is go into create announcement. Now, what I'll do is I'll show you a couple of mine. One thing I do is up until the class starts, I have a transition in progress announcement that basically says, hey, I'm messing around on here. Don't worry about deadlines and things like that because I'm still playing around with it. The main reason I do this is because I change things from semester to semester, and I copy my entire Blackboard course from one semester to another, because that way all I've got to do is change the things I want to change rather than start from scratch every semester. It's very helpful. Sometimes I don't change much in certain areas, so I just change dates rather than changing everything. So what you want to do is what I kind of put in there is I just put what we're doing that week. So if you're doing an online class, it's essential. If you're not doing an online class, it's still kind of helpful if you're doing blended or even if you're doing traditional classes, because you just say what we did that week. So if somebody missed class, you don't tell them to call me, email me, you just say check Blackboard. It's all on there. And so what you'll see in there is I kind of give a brief description of what we've got going on that week. That's this kind of in this week 10 here. That's like my first paragraph is just a kind of background. Then the assignments for the week and a little description where to find the assignments, things like that. And then kind of a little sign off. And so you'll see that no matter what week it is, that's kind of what I've got going. Feel free to pause this video if you want to actually read what I'm saying in the announcements. So that's fine too. But if you're wondering how to create the announcements themselves, once you get in there, you click Create Announcement. You can put week 1 or week 2, or put the date if you'd like. Type in whatever you want to type. That's pretty simplistic. When you get down here, the duration, you can put not date restricted or date restricted. I always choose date restricted because when that week is going on, I want them to see what's going on that week, and then I want it to vanish without me messing with it. So the best way to do this is to check both of these boxes and select when you want it to appear and select when you want it to disappear. Since I'm an online class, my stuff appears every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. and then it disappears the following Sunday morning at 8 a.m. So that way there's never two announcements going on at the same time. There's always only one announcement. One drops off, one picks up, so no matter when students log in, they're able to see everything. You can attach links here. I don't usually do anything here. If you want to email your students the announcement as soon as the new one pops up, you're able to do that. I don't worry about that usually, but you can certainly do that. Then you hit submit when you're done. I'm not going to hit submit. So that's a little bit about those announcements. Now, a big thing that people don't realize is when your student, the default in here is not for your students to see the announcements. I like my students to see the announcements first thing so they don't have to wander around and try to find it. So I want to show you how to make your students, whenever they log into your course, that they're automatically directed to the announcements page. That's a good starting point. I highly recommend it. To do that, you're going to go over to your control panel down here, and you're going to choose customization. This is going to open up and you're going to see teaching style. Click on teaching style. You mess with a whole bunch of junk here. If you don't, I just kind of leave this, especially like the course menu. I don't mess with that at all. But here's really your focus here is the course entry point. You can choose anything that you've got set up, any of your buttons that you've got over here at the top. You can have any one of those be your entry point. So I would definitely choose announcements as your entry point. Course themes, if you want to change your course theme, make it all pretty, that's fine. I just stay with the default, I don't care. And then I change my buttons to look a little different too, rather than the traditional ones, so that they really stand out for the students. So, and then when you're done with all of that, you've got the course menu display. I let students choose if they want to see the list or the folders. It doesn't matter to me. and then I just hit submit. So make sure that you hit submit. Don't just exit out when you choose announcements here. You've got to go to the bottom, hit submit. Okay, so that really covers all the announcement stuff. The other thing you wanted to see was rubrics. Okay, rubrics are an interesting piece because you can build the rubrics all you want, but you have to have an announcement, or excuse me, an assignment for the rubric to show up. So I don't know if you're doing an online class or a blended class or a traditional class, but no matter which one you've got, you can have your assignments set up in Blackboard. So the easiest way to do that is to go into like for me, I set up this tab called Assignments and Files, and basically what it is, it's everything that I have. It's all my stuff, basically. I don't remember what it's called initially when you first have one, but I changed it to Assignments and Files. It was called something else by default. Anyway, the point is that I first set apart my stuff by weeks. If you don't want to do weeks, you don't need to. You can put all your assignments in one big folder, but I would recommend breaking it into folders just because that's what students are used to seeing, and it makes it a little easier for them to organize their thoughts. So maybe you have discussion board topics in one file, in one folder, and assignments in another. I don't know however your course is organized, you can make it work. Maybe do chapter summaries in one file and other assignments in another file. But anyway, so you go into your folder, and the first thing that you do is you go into build content. Now I have videos and stuff in mind, don't worry about that. But when you go into build content, you're going to choose, you're going to go into assessments, because this is where your assignments are. I'm sorry, I'm getting myself confused. So you're going to go into assessments here, and you're going to choose assignment. I've even done tests as assignments before, so don't worry what the actual thing is. This is just easy to use. So what you're going to do is you're going to put in your name of the assignment, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to just call it test assignment. So then they come after you type in the name. I would definitely recommend you give them instructions. If you have like a traditional class, maybe you've already given them all the directions about the actual assignment, but they still need directions on how to submit it. If it's something online, I always give them a full description again of the expectations, whether it's from just cut and pasted from the syllabus or whatnot. I make sure I put that in the instructions too, but I always make sure that I give them directions on how to submit. And the best way to do that is to just type in, the first thing I always tell them to do is to type the assignment in Word. And the reason for that is twofold. One, I want them to have a copy of their own assignment so that they know if they've got a hard copy in case something weird does happen. They've got it saved in Word. The second reason is because if they take too long to type it, sometimes they'll time out of Blackboard. Not good. So what I make that way, there was no error, they don't lose their work, they've got it. So then I just tell them to hit Control on the Word document. I tell them to put Control and A, which will select everything. Control and C, because that'll copy it. Then come back here and then do Control V, and that will paste it into this submission box. So then I tell them 3, hit submit. Now I do tell them if I do use a rubric, I make sure I tell them to do that, to view the rubric, all that stuff. That goes in the assignment instructions, not the submission instructions. So 2 different sets of instructions. Now if you want to attach an assignment file, like let's say you gave them a handout and then you also want to let them be able to view it later if they want, or if they were absent, that way they can always view it as well. So you can do browse my computer and you can find the file the handout that you gave them, attach it to it. Put in the point value, however many points you want to make it worth, and then you do add a rubric. Now I've already created a bunch of rubrics, and I'll show you how I did that in just a second. So if you've already got some set up, because I use the same ones, like every discussion board has the same rubric. So there are a couple of assignments that have the same rubric because they're more holistic. So if I want to use one that I've already created, I'm going to do select rubric, which is what I'll do this time. I'll hit select rubric, and I've got all my rubrics in there. I'll choose which one I want to use. and I'll hit submit. And when I hit submit, the default is that it's a type used for grading. And then this is what I usually change. Show rubric to students. The default is no. You've got two yes choices here. You've got yes with the rubric scores and yes without rubric scores. If you just want them to see the blank rubric and after you grade it they still only see the blank rubric, then you can go with that one. I like for them to actually see how I scored them, so I always choose yes with rubric scores so that they can definitely, after I grade it, they can actually see exactly how I'm going to grade it. They're going to see the points attached to every part of the rubric. They'll see everything. So transparency, it leads to lack of confusion in my experience. So I think the best way to do that is that way, but that's my way. Okay, you go down to your availability now. Just like with the discussion boards, if you want, or excuse me, with the announcements, if you want to make things appear and disappear when they're during that time frame, that's fine. But for me, it's just as easy to give everybody a 0 if they're late than to, worry about when it appears and when it doesn't appear. So I usually just leave this blank. The number of attempts, I always, for me, I allow unlimited attempts because I want them to get it right. So if I say, hey, do it again, or maybe fix this and resubmit, they can do that. If you want to just give them a second chance, you can always do, give them two chances to submit it. Or you might just say one shot at it. Whatever you choose is perfectly fine, but those are the options that you have. If you want to assign a due date, it'll tell them that, hey, it's due by this date at this time. Again, I say that in my announcement or in my syllabus that it's due by this day every week, so I don't usually need to worry about that. But if you have different varying due dates depending on the assignment, it might be an option. And then if you make groups in Blackboard, you can assign it to groups. I always do all students individually. Then I hit submit. So what you're going to see is if you're a student, I'll show you that view really fast. I'm going to go down to my test assignment here. This is what I just created. If I click on it, the first thing I want to do is, as me, I want to make sure I turn that edit mode off so they see exactly what the students will see. And you're going to see that it's got the name of the assignment, it's got the directions, and then I can click here and I can view the rubric, and it tells me everything I need to know about the rubric. I will say that when I create the rubric, I change all this stuff, which I'm going to go over right now. So what I'm quickly going to do, so I'm actually going to turn my edit mode back on. I'm actually going to delete this assignment so that it's not in there, because my actual Blackboard is live right now, so I don't want anybody to get confused. And then what I want to do is I want to show you how to set up, if you at the beginning of class you've already got your rubrics, you just want to go ahead and put them in for the whole course. There's a way to do that. Let me show you how to do it. You go to Course Tools here on your control panel, and you click on Rubrics. And what you're going to do then is you're going to create a rubric, and call it whatever you want. If you want to give a description, that's fine, but this is basically just for me. Students will be able to see that, but to me it's kind of self-explanatory. The name kind of tells the name of the assignment. So when you get down to the detail, this is where you've really got some options here, and so I really wanted to quickly talk through those. You can actually do points if you want. You could say if this is going to be worth, if the whole thing's worth 100, this might be worth 10. If they do a little better, it's worth 30, and then this is worth 50, and then this is worth 10, 30, or 50. Okay, so that that the total points, if they do the best, should add up to 100, if that's how many points it's worth. I actually like to do percent, and here's why. When I'm doing something, one of the things that I always have them do is I talk about professionalism and things like that, so I have grammar and spelling as one of my indicators. However, if I only have 3 things, I don't think it's fair for 33% to be for grammar and spelling, because if somebody does wonderful work, just amazing, fantastic work, but they can't spell worth a darn, I don't think the best they should get is a D, 67%. To me, that's not fair. It's also not fair if somebody turns in something that's really weak on what I'm teaching in class, but their grammar and spelling is perfect. because then they might be able to get as good a grade as somebody who really gets it but just has some misspelling. So what I like to do is if this is content part one, like one of my big foci of my lesson, and this is another big one, what I'll usually do is I'll do something along the lines of maybe 45 here, 45% will be here, and only 10% will be on grammar and spelling. So I mean that you can kind of balance it that way. I think that's more fair because it really kind of emphasizes the major points of the course. Okay. Now I do change these from novice, competent, proficient. I don't like those descriptors, so you can change them to whatever you want. What I have here is I have below expectations, near expectations, and meets expectations. That's what I have. I also think that as long as they do some work, if they're below expectations, I don't think they deserve a 0. A 0 means they didn't do it. So for me, I'll change this to maybe 25% of the total points for this row. Now this might be 70, 75, and then this is 100. And then you put a brief description in each box for what that looks like. When you're done, you can hit submit, you're good to go, and then you've got it built into your rubrics. And then you can just import it to each assignment as you go. Alright, that was a lot of talking, but I hopefully have helped you navigate through any issues that you've seen or you want to use with rubrics and assignments. Announcements. So give me an email if there are still areas that you're unclear about. If you have any questions, if you want to meet about it, that's fine too. Hopefully this will hopefully answer most, if not all, your questions though. So anyway, if you need anything else, give me a yell. That's why I'm here. I don't mind helping out whenever I can. So you've got my email. I'll talk to you later.